As we have spawning up here in the top, representing Storm Gaming, he is Gumiho, the Towel Terran himself. And his opponent, one letter away from being a Terran, retiring back in 2018, but looking for another run to glory. Give it up for BYUL. And this is the one I'm very excited for. Like I said for Gumiho, he really has not missed a beat. He has come back to his Storm Gaming roots. And, you know, really just kind of getting back in the swing of things. Getting him to qualify would be absolutely wonderful for him. Kind of just showing that even if you have to go away for a bit, you never lose that kind of muscle memory of winning. This is going to be a tough fight, though, because, you know, BYUL, he kind of left at the top. If I recall correctly, BYUL was kind of another Zerg player known for going very far in tournaments, getting very close to victory. Kind of like Su, kind of like Jaedong. Jaedong in StarCraft 2, that is. We all know his Brood War is immaculate. But yeah, you know, yeah, BYUL gets pretty far. He's not necessarily a second place player because he does have some caveats to himself. But yeah, very good Zerg player. I feel like I'm making him sound worse than he is. I definitely should let him speak for himself in that regard. Anyway, we do see Gumiho going for a little bit of a tricky maneuver here to get rid of that first Overlord. The Marine not going to be shooty enough to kill it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter for him. As all that's really done is said, hey, you are not going to get in my base. You are not going to see what I am up to, and you're going to have to send a couple of links across if you want to do anything against me. Now, granted, BYUL is going to accept his request, going around the Marines on their way to the natural. They want to get a little bit of a denial on that CC, just kind of keep the SCVs off of it for a bit, but they will get deflected. Behind this, we will have the Hellions, so a pretty standard start here for Gumiho. Now, the exciting thing about Gumiho is that he is known as a mech player. His bio is really good as well, but it's really his mech builds that kind of pushed him forward. His battle mech, his, you know, Thor builds versus Protoss and such. So we'll have to see if he is going to go for mech in this series at all. We do see this Lings once again getting roasty toasty as the Hellions are back at home ready to go. All right, this is, I think from what I'm seeing, this is going to be some semblance of a Hellbat push. And the reason I say that is, one, because the Hellions are staying at home just so that he doesn't lose too much health on them. 2, because he's got a starport pumping out that medevac. And 3, because these guys right here are super good versus queens and roaches. And yeah, there you have it. The armory has come on down. So a bit of an old school build, but it still holds its manner. BYUL already does have a roach warrant out for that defense, going up to as quick a lair as possible as well. But this is going to hit a little bit quicker than he might be ready for. He does have a lot of energy on these queens, so transfuses are going to be as important as ever. Let's see how much Gumiho can do. This has been scouted now. Armory has complete. The Hellbats have been morphed. The Marauders bringing up the front. They do have concussive shells, so these queens have got to be very careful. One of them almost falling before eventually going on down. The Lynx in the front getting roasted here. The Marauders focus firing down on those roaches. The medevac is forced away, however. A good concave from BYUL is going to keep a majority of these roaches alive, albeit with very little health. And so Gumiho, what looked to be a very strong start to that fight, will get deflected. And now keep in mind, that was a very expensive attack for him here. He spent so much in order to make that work that now he's got to play a little bit of catch-up. And in order to do so, he's dropping down those 4th and 5th racks very, very quickly, even before his command center is on location. He's getting his upgrades as quickly as he possibly can. And yeah, unfortunately, BYUL is going to have a lot of room to kind of macro up and get ready for the next wave of attacks. Like BYUL will be going up to his 4th base. He's going to get that extra macro hatch in the main Baneling nest as well, just to stay safe. Roach is going to do what they can for the meantime. They will be able to deflect this relatively easily. But all Gumiho really wants to do with this force is kind of trade out some of these roaches, force BYUL to continuously pump out army units because he's not at that critical mass economy yet of a Zerg player. Bear in mind, Gumiho is on 3 base production, so he's really going to be able to just keep the power up going. Although he did leave the wall down, forcing a lot of his reinforcements to stay at home and defend against the small little Ling run-by. So has to be careful about that. Supplies are relatively equal in terms of the army, and even the worker count is actually dead even here. Just about. BYUL only just now adding on those additional ones to go up to about 75, 80 workers. And from there, it's just going to be pure economy, economy, economy. Even going to drop down a Spire as well. Straight out over here is Gumiho. He's going to get rid of as many of these Lings as humanly possible. There's not really a huge Bane count. I'm starting to notice only 8 on the field as he's trying to expend most of his gas going up to Mutas. So that, you know, the thing about Muta Ling Bane is that you are kind of stuck on a lair tech for quite a bit of time, especially if your opponent is continuously pushing and forcing you to trade out, because it's deceptively expensive. So it's really difficult to kind of sneak out the infestation pit, to sneak out the hive. You really do need to keep Gumiho at home if you are going to go for this. Now, BYUL is setting up the Mutas to go straight for the main base. There are some Marines in position to help out, and they will be able to kind of push this away a little bit. But BYUL is also set up over here by the 4th, ready to dive in as soon as Gumiho oversteps his welcome. Mutas gonna find this, and there's not really that many Marines, so it might just be good to get rid of the medevacs. Looks like Gumiho does bring enough down here to defend against that. And he's just going to go for a big push against a maxed out BYUL. Down really quickly here. Gumiho setting up to establish this position. The siege tanks trying not to get too forward on creep. The splits are pretty good. Expends quite a few banelings to deal with that. He is maxed out once again. Gumiho not paying attention though. Will lose a huge chunk of that bio. And now he's gonna have to get rid of this position. He loses both of the siege tank, and BYUL now on the warpath is just gonna chase this all the way home. A little bit of a run by, but the static D should be enough to defend against this. Once again, Gumiho not splitting. Oh no. So that supply just starting to plummet for our red Terran. The Marine count is dead. And BYUL. So yeah, definitely a few things that Gumiho needs to kind of clean up if he wants to stay in this game. Looks like he will be going for a CC first, so already going to be quite aggressive with his economy. And you know what? I don't hate that. I'm always talking about how this is kind of the most macro map in the pool right now. So I don't think BYUL is really going to be able to punish him for this. But the big question is, how is he going to follow this up? Is he going to go for a 2-1-1, a little bit more old school? Is he just going to go for a full 3 racks? Or is he going to just go for a 1-1-1 and hope that BYUL doesn't scout this anytime soon? That's going to be the big question on his mind. As, yeah, nothing really too much to say right here. Yeah, BYUL even just being really passive, knowing that he almost lost the Overlord last time. Just going to keep that Overlord back, so this is almost a free pass for Gumiho, who is just going to go straight for a Reaper, which will allow him to get quite a lot of scouting information and double refinery as well. So fast factory behind it. Nice. Very nice. I think the big question on my mind now, and then I'll stop focusing on Gumiho, is does this kind of tell us that he will be going for mech? That's kind of the thoughts that I'm getting right now, is that he's probably utilizing this fast gas geyser to kind of go into, yeah, like I said, mech. I think honestly this might be the map to do so on, if he is going to do so, as you know, battle mech with cyclones and hellions can be quite strong if you kind of rotate around choke points and kind of keep that creep away. But the Zergling is going to come in. It's the first real indication as to what's going on in this game. Doesn't really tell him a lot because of the timings. But looks like he's just kind of powering up, getting that speed for his Lings. Even just going to get the Overlord speed just so he can get in there and get a little bit more information as to what is going on. I think this is going to be the most pivotal time for him to do so, as I think from here Gumiho is going to start to kind of show his hand as to what kind of style he's going to go for. Fast third CC as well, very nice. It's going to be a Banshee follow-up here. Cloak is on the way, but BYUL gets full vision of this. I mean, yeah, that is just such a big tell for him. As, see, that's just going to instantly drop down a couple of Evo chambers to keep those Hellions away from the juicy probe line in the natural. Drops down probably a couple spores. Might want to go up to Lair Tech relatively soon as well. Hellions going to make their way in, and they do get a couple of good connections. BYUL just a little bit slow on the pull. Now, these guys are pretty much dead. And what did they get for it? Okay, they got about 8 drones, so it kind of equals out since they added on a couple of lings. Not too bad, too bad. But yeah, there you have it. A couple of additional factories going to be coming on in. It is full-on mech production. So now BYUL really needs to see this. Did he actually... No, he hasn't seen it just yet because he didn't send the Overlord in. But now that he sees the amount of Hellions that are kind of being made, now that this Banshee is kind of still flying around, I think he might have an idea that this is indeed some sort of mech style. So a couple of things that BYUL can do. Obviously, knowing that his opponent is going to be a little bit more passive, he's going to be able to get those upgrades a little bit safer. He can pump out a couple of additional queens just to kind of shoo this away. He can go up to Roaches, Lair Tech as well. And honestly, all he has to do is power up. Drone, drone, drone. And then unit, unit, unit. That way he can kind of just overwhelm Gumiho, who won't really be able to kind of remax, to kind of build up as quickly. And then it just comes down to effective trades. Oh no, BYUL hasn't even started speed for his Banelings. So they will just kind of waddle on in. Don't really get too much. Not even the Reaper will falter right there. Banshee's starting to get a little bit of work. 3 kills between the two of them. As Gumiho just kind of cleaning up some of the creep. Creep denial is going to be the most important thing for him right now. He needs to be able to get on top of the Zerg bases as quickly as possible without being... without them having that speed bonus, essentially. After these siege tanks come out for a little bit of extra defense, he will be switching into the Cyclones. A little bit of a poke with these Hellions. They do not have Blue Flame. But he's just gonna go for it. Actually, the Thors being dropped on the front lines here. The Lings a little bit out of position to deal with them, so they will all start to fall. Gumiho actually able to punch his way through here. BYUL just completely caught off guard by this attack. Does get a Hellbat with that BYUL, I believe. But the Thor is just absolutely wailing away on this. He should be able to kind of micro this around. The Mutas starting to join the fight, but yeah, Thors do pretty well of them. And he does have 3 of them. One Thor will fall. A little bit sloppy, but I don't think it really matters because BYUL not able to box his units up there. Will lose most of these Mutas. And his 4th base falls as well. So Gumiho taking a huge supply advantage. He will be going up to his 4th base. And look at that. Absolutely massive damage. So BYUL is not dead yet, by the way. He's still has a pretty good chance of staying alive. He's just got to play catch up here for a little bit of time. Since he does have 75 workers, that's going to help out a little bit, meaning that he doesn't really have to remake too many. And so he can still kind of just pump out units and stay safe that way. Looks like the Mutas going to try and make their way in, but the Thor does have an escort. Now kind of just staying back. Wants to play it a little bit more defensive. He's making 4 hatcheries at a time. Just really, really desperately trying to make his way back. But now it looks like Gumiho smells that blood in the water. He is ready to go. The Cyclones inching their way forward, looking for a couple of quick connections here. The Thor is still in the medevac. 1 BYUL will get rid of the siege tanks. But BYUL just doesn't really have a lot to fight this. He's going for the attack. Pretty much just an F2A move here, almost. But the siege tank's able to push this back. BYUL dropping supply like a madman. The Hellbat's in the front. Not really there. There we go. He does pull the rest of them forward. But the Thor just being able to drop on the front lines, tanking up all these roach shots. GG. So we're not seeing anything tricky out of Gumiho this time. This time, just a relatively normal opening here. Racks, gas. That works. As for BYUL, yeah, just the natural first. Going into that spawning pool, nothing really you can say about that. BYUL has been the reactionary player, like most Zergs in his day. But I gotta say, overall, that game didn't look 100% terrible for him. You know, he was still able to deflect the first couple of attacks. He still had a lot of good moves that kind of set him up. It's just that one engagement that caught him off guard, which really ended things for him. And I think that's... like, I don't think he's really going to want to fall for that again. So BYUL just going to get 6 lings, playing it very, very safe here. They usually say that if you get 4 lings, you're expecting to lose 1. But if you get 6, you don't want to lose any of them. I'm not 100% sure as to why that math works out the way it is. But Reaper going to go for a couple of quick heals here. Fast thinking from BYUL. Drops the extractor. He will do fine. And the Reaper will get on out of there with its integrity intact. I don't know why I said integrity. I meant life. Gumiho, however, gonna follow this up with a little bit of a Hellion drop here. So he's gonna get 4 Hellions, a little bit of a medevac right outside of BYUL's base, and he's just gonna look for some very quick, cheeky damage under BYUL's nose. Now, BYUL has absolutely no scouting on the top side of the map yet. He doesn't have an Overlord in position covering that location. But what he does have is a couple of lings, forcing the Hellions to remain at home. Although they're not really going to get too much done past that. We'll get 1 SCV though, that's pretty nice. Looks like BYUL making quite a few lings early on. That does mean that he's not going to have the most robust economy. And as we can kind of see, it's currently 33 to 30 here, with only 6 more on the way. So BYUL obviously taking a bit of a risk here, but Gumiho doesn't really have a lot at home. Scratch that. He does have a couple of Hellions to defend. But here we go. BYUL caught completely off guard here. And that is a lot of roasty, toasty drone line. Trying to focus fire down the Hellion. The medevac, still at full health, is able to kind of just dive on top of this. The drones stacking up That's a pretty nice damage so far. All things considered, 9 workers going down, a few more at the third. And look at that, he's just gonna keep this going. It's a Hellion Liberator. This is old school, old school. I remember doing this way back in the a beta of Legacy of the Void. The Roaches, a 3 about to pop, but they are going to be very late for their time. The Hellbat's jumping right on top of the drone line. Oh my goodness, getting a couple of good connections right there. One of the Queens does get cornered. Not that much transfused energy left either. And so the Queens are going to start to fall. Finally, the Roaches are where they need to be. Funnily enough, Hellbats blocking the Roaches out from the main base. So even more drones are going to fall, and this is just a really good time for Gumiho right now. BYUL just never really able to recover as he's constantly losing income. Take a look at that income graph even. Over 1,000 mineral difference here, not even mining gas, because of how severe he's had to deflect this. He canceled the Liberator. Okay. So Gumiho really just trying to keep up the pressure any way he can. He still has these Hellions dancing around the map, looking for any sort of weak point in BYUL's play. A couple more Hellions gonna dive on in. The Banshee coming home as a bit more of a defensive unit here, getting in. Oh my goodness, these drones almost lining up. Now BYUL actually only on 47 workers right now, having to consistently remake the drones. Unfortunately as well for him, Gumiho is going for bio, which is much quicker to kind of build up and get ready for an attack. So he's not really going to have a ton of time here as he's stuck on Roaches as well. He's put himself in a really big kind of timer situation. Roaches, good in the mid game. For a bit, but as those upgrades start to kick in, the bio just absolutely steamrolls them. And so it becomes pretty important to kind of get up to Hive as well, which, I mean, BYUL can't really afford to do since, again, he's taking so much economic damage. I do think, though, as long as he doesn't really take too much more of it, as long as he kind of stays in a bit of a defensive position and can kind of hold on against these next couple of attacks, I think he should be able to kind of fight his way back into it. But we will have to see, as Gumiho not really giving him a lot of time to kind of build up, getting ready for another big push. Also, pretty big deal. There's no creep there. Catching a couple of Roaches off guard. The stim is in. Gumiho recognizing that the units aren't in position right now. One siege tank sieges on up. A huge volley on top of these Roaches who are very clumped up. The bio's gonna go down. Eventually gonna get rid of those siege tanks. He will be able to clean it up, but that was a very Pyrrhic attack. Or Pyrrhic victory for BYUL. Gumiho getting ready for another strike. BYUL just really just has to get as many Roaches as possible here, as Gumiho looking to attack in multiple locations, kind of pull the Roach count apart. I don't disagree with that. But he's just got to be careful as to how he does it. If he sieges up in the wrong location, it's going to cost him everything. And unfortunately, BYUL not paying attention to the high ground here. So Gumiho going to first supply block him, then dethrone him here. 3 Overlords going down. And he will be able to get out of there with all of his units. So BYUL now gonna have to split his forces up. There is no queen in the main base. So as long as Gumiho doesn't sit in that spore crawler too much, he should be able to get quite a few kills. I think Gumiho still has to be a little bit careful with how he engages into this. He is in a really good spot. But if he keeps trying to fight super divided with just Marines, then that's really the power where these roaches are going to be able to kind of fight this more. Now, granted, BYUL is now down 1 upgrade, 1 set of upgrades, and even these tanks have +1 attack. And Gumiho is getting ready for the big cheese here. BYUL recognizing that he's in a tough situation, sending his army over to the 3rd, looking for a killing blow. So like 2 ships passing in the night. Unfortunately for BYUL, though, he is the first one to kind of blink and say, I need to come back. I need to defend this. Gumiho completely maxed out. The siege tanks do get caught without the bio, so most of them will go down. But there's still quite a few Marines available with this. The bios cleaning up some of these medevacs, making it a little bit difficult to disengage. The drop over here, though, making BYUL shift his attention away. And Gumiho just going to continuously be able to trade out these units. They are cheaper. They are more cost efficient at this time. And BYUL just having a really hard time stopping them. And I know I'm kind of sounding biased towards Gumiho with this situation, but it's just looking very crisp, very clean here for our Red Terran player. BYUL just having a real struggle to kind of get up to that critical mass of Zerg that he needs to stop this. And now, his entire army will go down as Gumi just stimming right on top of this. That's going to be it. Gumiho.